Have you ever noticed KFC only sells Pepsi? And not just KFC, Pizza Hut and Taco Bell also only sell Pepsi. And that's weird because you'd be thinking, why would they only sell Pepsi? And I'm pretty sure I've seen Pepsi in more places, and I'm pretty sure I've seen Coke at those places, but you actually haven't. You might think you have, but you actually haven't. There's a reason that Pepsi is only sold at those particular 3 stores, KFC, Taco Bell, Pizza Hut. And there's a reason it's not sold at other stores. Back in the 1980s, Coke was becoming super popular versus Pepsi. So the whole Coca-Cola versus Pepsi thing was getting big at the time, and Coca-Cola was excelling ahead. So far to the point that people were specifically requesting to have Coke in all the stores. So the stores back in the 80s, the fast food places, they started negotiating with the contractors of Pepsi for lower, cheaper contracts, and Coke came in with expensive contracts because they knew, they could get that out of people because that's what people wanted. So Pepsi starts to see all their contracts are being negotiated lower or just straight up being cancelled if they couldn't get that. Now that's obviously a problem because where you win in a soft drink war or soft drink territory is obviously where people get food. That's the main place you're going to see people buying these sort of drinks. As they notice their numbers start to go down specifically in those areas, they start to check into it. And when they check into it, they find that people just like Coke better. The reason Coke has always excelled is realistically just the color of it. Being a red color makes it stand out so much more than the blue color. That mixed with Coke's marketing and branding, obviously, altogether makes Coke the better brand overall. But Pepsi, obviously, they had to change something. So what did they have to change? They had to change being in as many stores as they could get into. So they sent their sellers around. So you'll know if you've actually done a restaurant that when it actually starts getting successful, the major companies like Coke or Pepsi actually directly approach you to contract with them for drinks. So it's sold direct rather than you being a third-party buyer. So Pepsi went to the fast food places and gave better contracts, and it got to the point of people not wanting Pepsi that these contracts they were offering, which were half what Coke was offering, weren't even being accepted. So a cheap price wasn't even being accepted because people didn't even want to sell it side by side. They just didn't want to sell it flat out. At that point, Pepsi knows they're obviously done. So they had to make the change, which is what they did. They bought KFC. That's pretty much what happened. They actually outright bought the entire company back in the 80s. Now, KFC was put underneath a brand called Yum Brands, essentially. If you know how things work in the food industry, that's how they work. A lot of these companies are owned by an overall company. Like Kraft, for example, owns almost everything. So Yum Brands was the corporation which KFC gets put under. To add to that, they also bought Pizza Hut and then Taco Bell. So you've got Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC underneath Yum Brands. So what does that mean if Pepsi owns it? Then they can only sell Pepsi. So the reason you only see Pepsi at KFC and not other places is because Pepsi actually owns KFC. So they make sure KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell only stock Pepsi, and that other stores actually don't even stock it. So people who shop at those 3 places exclusively are buying Pepsi, and people who want to get Pepsi items, they have to go to KFC, Pizza Hut, or Taco Bell to get those particular items. And that's how it is with brands. Lots of different brands, not just in the food industry, but every brand. There's always different approaches to take to sell stuff. So Pepsi was dying, so they bought food. You eat the food, you have their drink, now the brand comes straight back up, and now it's not an equal player to Coke, but a strong player. So there's always different ways to market and advertise stuff that is thinking outside the box that people don't even think of. And because the average consumer doesn't know this stuff, they just, buy what's thrown at them. I go to this place, I get this drink, I want this drink, I go to this place. That's pretty much how it works. If you want to learn more about food industry business or business in general, make sure you subscribe and leave down below what foods or food businesses you want me to look at. I'm going to focus a little bit more on those first before we go into other stuff. Otherwise, in future, I will be sharing the stuff that I do. Like I told you in the previous couple videos, I do online stuff now because it's extremely more profitable than being in the food industry. If that's something you want to learn, make sure you subscribe now and I'll be giving out some free content.